Hanover Wildcats Coach's Corner, a service of Hanover Electric, Blue Valley Technologies, Inline Construction, the Blue Valley Insurance Agency, Citizen State Banks, Handy's Hardware and Lumber, Midwest Products, and Bremen Farmers Mutual Insurance.
The variety of our checking plans exceeds your grandfather's dreams. We have checking plans for kids, checking for college students, checking for small businesses, and checking for seniors only. We have checking plans that pay interest. By checking with us, you have quality choices to add to your portfolio and financial planning. Citizen State Bank of Marysville, Waterville, and Hanover. Quality banking since 1907. Member FDIC.
See Andy Bruna at Andy's Hardware and Lumber in Hanover for a full line of your everyday hardware needs and all the building supplies you'll need to get the job done right. Just about anything you might need around the farm or home is found at Andy's, and always fast, friendly service when you need it. It just makes good sense to shop at Andy's Hardware and Lumber in Hanover, Kansas. A Plyout Wildcat Booster, that's Andy's Hardware and Lumber in Hanover.
Bremen Farmers Mutual Insurance, providing high-quality coverage and service, all at a competitive premium cost. Since 1888, Bremen Farmers Mutual has offered homeowner, farm owner, business owner, fire, and inland marine coverage. Dependable and affordable. See your local agent representing Bremen Farmers Mutual Insurance. Learn more about the various insurance products offered by going online at bfmic.com.
Quality work at reasonable rates. Inline Construction does basements and foundations as well as retaining walls, plus drives, patios, and sidewalks. For concrete work, call for a quote from Inline Construction at 562-5523 or inlineconstruction@yahoo.com.
Welcome into the Hanover Wildcats Coach's Corner program. Joined today with Matt Hoyer, head football coach. Coach, convincing win over Wakefield there Friday night. Your team on a little bit of an offensive roll, so I want to start with that side of the ball. What have you liked here the last couple weeks?
You know, I think we're definitely taking some strides forward as far as, you know, not only in the running game, but also the passing game. You know, some of the things, you know, we're not quite where we could be or not where our potential leads us, you know, on either side of the ball for that matter of fact. But I feel like we're definitely starting to, you know, see a little bit of improvement in some of the things that we've been trying to, you know, kind of focus on. And I think that's, you know, paying dividends, you know, and especially Friday night when we were able to kind of be balanced. I think it was one of those things where I think after the game, I think we were within like 3 or 4 yards of running and passing. You know, definitely something that put some strain on the opposing defense. And between that and the fact that, you know, we've been having, you know, 5 or 6 guys in the rushing column and 5 or 6 guys in the passing column, and you know, that definitely, you know, makes it tough to defend us.
And for you as a coach, too, I'm sure there's been some years where you have leaned more heavily on the run because of the athletes you had and probably on the opposite side of it. So just from the play calling standpoint, I don't want to call it easier either, but, you know, just the ability to say, hey, if I do need a chunk play on 3rd and long, we can get it, or to just run the clock down and kind of make it a physical game, that ability and that balance to do that this year. How important is that?
You know, I think it's extremely important, and it's more so one of those things where I think it's the comfort level and confidence level that the kids have in both. You know, it's not necessarily, you know, we've had years, like you said, that we've been, you know, extremely run heavy, and you know, when you go to call a pass and they kind of look at you like, and you know, that you could just kind of tell that the comfort level wasn't there, and you know, I feel like that's, you know, one of those situations where, you know, over the years, it's something that we've really tried to move towards, to where, you know, kids feel more comfortable, kids feel more, you know, apt to, you know, have that confidence level in whatever we call, whether it be a run or pass, not just certain situations, but any situation. And I think this group's definitely moving towards that, and I think it definitely, you know, bodes well for us, you know, on Friday nights.
Now, of course, you have a big one coming up against Axtell on Friday night. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. But first off, I want to ask you kind of about this senior class. You know, you're now 6-0 on the season, but you're not too far removed from those 500, you know, just a win over 500 seasons a couple years ago. As you kind of look through what these boys have been through, how impressed are you with their I want to call it resilience and not to give up, not to, quit fighting throughout the seasons. And now you're seeing some of that fruit start to bloom.
I think it's definitely, it's been, something to see their maturity level. Some of these kids, have been playing for, 2-3 years, quite extensively. And it's one of those things where, a lot of times, that like our athletes here don't necessarily completely mature until, going into their junior year or even sometimes going into their senior year. We had a few years where it seems like kids would come back from college, and then that's when they grew. And I think that this group, definitely was kind of hit that stride, kind of where we were for quite a few years there, where between sophomore to junior or junior to senior year, they definitely, matured, physically or from that standpoint. And, and I think that the experience that they've gained over the last 3-4 years has really helped them, mentally and, preparing each and every single week and having that experience has, really kind of taken us to a different level this year. And I think that, our speed and athleticism, our growth, and just that experience that we've gained over the last few years has definitely, brought us back, a lot closer to, where we were when we were playing into late November.
And for this team, too, I know, like we said, big game here, but an overall season goal playing late into November. I think you made a good point there. How much of it is it of a goal for this team to do that this season?
Oh, most certainly. I think that every year that's one of the goals that we go in with, but we know that it's a long season and, and especially this year, we really stress the process of it. It's not necessarily, about, getting to late November. It's about being, making strides to being the best team each and every single week when you step onto the field. It's about week 7. It's about week 8. You can't get to week 10, 11, 12, or even 13 without making strides in week 7. So, we're really focused right now on a week-to-week basis. We're really focused on understanding that where we want to be as a football team and reaching our potential probably, it's a few weeks away yet. And I think it's important for our kids to realize that and continually, stride towards that objective.
Well, and I think that's something you've mentioned to me all week. It isn't about the end of the season portion. It's about, being able to improve week in and week out. And we have to talk about it. Axel coming in, I joked with you off air. I think everyone in the state of Kansas is wanting to either interview you guys or see you this week. How do you handle this sort of publicity, intensiveness on one regular season game when you guys have been in part of so many big games throughout your coaching career?
I think the importance level of it, is that our kids have to understand that it's not necessarily about this game. It's still about being part of the process. I mean, is everybody looking towards this game, and is everybody, viewing this game as a marquee matchup? Of course they are. But at the same time, does it make or break either one of our seasons if we walk away as a loser? No. It's one of those things where, whoever walks away, as the winner, and whoever walks away from this game with a loss is going to be one of those situations where they're going to know exactly where they need to go, what they need to do. And it's definitely one of those things where I've said for years and years and years, being in this part of the state, you're blessed to play such competition all the time, because once you get into November, you're usually not going to, be hit with anything that you haven't seen. And, for years, that was, one of the things that helped us out tremendously. And I'm sure that they would say the same thing over the course of the last 5 or 6 years when they've had their run. And I think it's really important for our kids especially to understand when they get there on the Friday night, there's going to be a lot of hype surrounding it and everything like that. But between 7:00 and probably 9:30, whenever it ends, it's another football game. It's about how you perform. It's about doing your job. It's about playing, disciplined football. It's about attention to detail, and the rest of it, kind of, falls into place, however that might be. And I think our kids need to realize that, and our kids need to understand that when this is one of those opportunities you only get so many times. I really always try to stress for our kids to, really understand and embrace those type of opportunities, because, when you're a little kid, you're not necessarily out in the backyard, dreaming of beating a, 2-16 by 50. You're thinking about, playing, in those state championships. You're thinking about playing against teams that have, had 58 game winning streaks, against undefeated teams, and those are the games that you want to make the big play to kind of sway it one way or the other.
Well, and I think you said it very perfectly there. Take this opportunity with it, because, you only get to live in these moments one time, and whichever side both of these teams come out of, you're going to be better for it in the long run. Now, last one here for you, Matt, but I do have to ask, this Axtell team, it is a team that's built around speed this season. You guys are a very deep and physical team, I feel like, in my mind. So just contrasting in styles, how do you plan on slowing down this offense, but then also, on your side of the ball, kind of controlling the game and not letting them get going too quickly?
It's going to come down to execution on both sides of the ball for us. Obviously, it's been a long time since anybody's, really slowed their offense down. So I think it's going to be key for our kids to be extremely disciplined, very oriented to detail. I think that we need to, offensively, just stay above the chains. We can't get behind the sticks, and we can't, have to have a lot of third and longs and stuff like that. And we just have to, do what we're capable of doing as athletes out on the field, and as a coaching staff as well. And don't try to do too much, and just perform to your highest level, each and every single play. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, and I think that it's going to be extremely important for our kids to, be able to, put both behind us, and move on to the next play. And I think that, if we do those things, I think that we have, the potential to be successful in some standpoints, and I think it's going to be an extremely fun atmosphere, and I think it's going to be an extremely fun game.
Well, I can't sum it up any better. It's going to be a top contest between you two guys, two of the premier programs within the state of Kansas, and I'm looking forward to being able to call that one on FM 95.5. Again, talking with Matt Hoyer, head coach of the Hanover Wildcats. As always, I appreciate the time, Matt. Hopefully we get a little chance to talk there Friday night.
All right, thank you.
In your bustling lives, we're constantly on the move, from hectic commutes to family outings. Blue Valley Insurance offers comprehensive auto coverage to keep you safe on every journey. Whether you're heading to work or driving your kids to practice, we've got you covered. Visit us at convenient locations in Lynn, Greenleaf, Hanover, or Marysville for personalized auto insurance solutions tailored to your needs. Drive with peace of mind, knowing you're protected by Blue Valley Insurance.
Not everyone can become a Lennox dealer, so you'll be glad to know when you buy a Lennox from Hanover Electric Incorporated, you not only get the best products in the business, you also get a traditional experience in making sure your home is as comfortable as it can be. Because every independent Lennox dealer must pass the Lennox Quality Dealer Standards Program, the toughest test in the industry, and what it means is you get a dealer you could always count on. Lennox, one less thing to worry about.
Donut Day is coming! Donut Day? What's that? Free donuts for Blue Valley customers.
October is National Cooperative Month, and Blue Valley Technologies is here to celebrate. Swing by on Friday, October 24th, before work or school for donuts, coffee, and hot apple cider. Drive through our west parking lot from 7 to 10 a.m. The first 25 people through get a free stocking hat.
From the ground up, Midwest Products Hanover can assist with concrete drives, parking, walks, entries, foundations, and support walls. Quality people help produce quality products, and you can rely on their crews for a job done right. Concrete plants at Hanover, Washington, and Clay Center. Midwest Products also haul rock, sand, and gravel. They have a crane for rent and can assist with site preparation. Start your next job with a call for a quote today from Midwest Products at Hanover. Hanover Wildcats Coaches Corner, a service of Hanover Electric, Blue Valley Technologies, Inline Construction, the Blue Valley Insurance Agency, Citizen State Banks, Handy's Hardware and Lumber, Midwest Products, and Bremen Farmers Mutual Insurance.